Hi, I'm so happy to be with you, even though I'm not with you in person. It's been a long time, but you are all in my heart, and I'm so happy to have this opportunity to talk about body reading with you. I'm not sure how long this will go. I've been given a half an hour. If I go over, just feel free to stop the PowerPoint wherever you are. And as I told Myrna, I'm happy to continue to do something in the future with you. So hopefully this will just be a whetting of your appetite. So yeah, it's a very special time that you're remembering John, who was my mentor and teacher and many of yours. So I'm happy to be included in this ceremony. I'm just going to take a minute to put this on screen share and find the PowerPoint and share it with you. So go to screen share, and here it is, and share. So I'm going to talk with you today about chronergetic body readings. Many of you know something about this, so hopefully it will be more of a refresher than anything else. I started out by just asking a question, so maybe you can sit quietly where you are, take a deep breath, exhale, and think about what is it you'd like to learn about body reading. Maybe it's something that you had questions about or unsure about. So what is it you would like to know or learn or understand in more depth? And then just think about how can this form of analysis help you work with a client? And finally, I want to just mention the word shame, because a lot of people have difficulty with their body and shame, something they don't like, they feel they'll be judged for, or they judge themselves. So can we do a body reading without opening up a whole windfall of shame? And how do you deal with shame if it does appear in discussing the idea of a reading with your client? So I want to remind you that each body is like a snowflake. No two bodies are alike. And in addition, every part of us communicates. So your eyebrows, as well as your clothing, as well as the kind of deodorant you're wearing. So every aspect of you has some form of message. And in our bodies communicates about our life experiences, our past and our present, and I'd like to think that we can even see something of the future. And it's stored in our cells and in our muscles. Wilhelm Reich, who is the grandfather of chronergetics, of John Farrakis is the father, he described a body reading as the frozen history of the person, meaning that our body gets frozen due to different wounds that occur in our life, and we get kind of frozen in a certain shape or form, our muscles and our bones. And we can read this to help know what happened in the past for that person. So for therapists and core practitioners, body reading is a source of diagnosis from which you then create a treatment plan. In fact, if you don't do it, it's hard to have a valid treatment plan because you're just, it's a lot of guesswork. So we want to move from a body reading immediately into interventions that are appropriate for the particular client we're dealing with. And as I said before, no two people are alike. That's what keeps me fascinated, is I always have to be thinking, how do I work with this particular person? So on a spiritual level, the body reflects the higher self, the lower self, and the mask. You can find all of that in the body. And on a psychological level, it indicates behaviors. And on a physical level, it provides information about illness and health. So there's so much in the body. It speaks to us on every level. So a body reading should never sound like a textbook. When you do a body reading, you shouldn't sound like a therapist with a diagnosis, because then a person is just going to feel labeled and like a specimen. That's not what a body reading is. A body reading tells the person a story. It's a generous, compassionate sharing with the person of their story. If it's accurate, it will help people become more conscious of areas they need to work with for personal development and growth. Now, you can't just do one body reading, because if our work is good, and I believe it is, bodies change. They begin to unfreeze and they gain flexibility and movement and motion and energy and vitality. So the bodies change. So we need to come back and do it several more times in the life of an individual therapy, because that's one method we have of assessment to know if our person's changing. And also, as we work in therapy, you may already know this, I'm sure you do, there's layers of a personality. So you work with one layer and then the next thing pops up. Well, the same thing happens in the body. You may be working with somebody's rigidity, and then all of a sudden their schizoid pops up. So you need to be aware of the changes and come back to the body over time to do another reading. A body reading helps you understand more about wounds or trauma that are unconscious. So the person really doesn't know. It's hidden from them. And it will help you and the client collaborate to know this is the direction we need to go into. This is something that you've repressed. You've suppressed it in your body, but here it is. You know, here's your lower self right here, even though you tell me you're never angry. So we need to get at this. So those are important points, but the most important point is this bottom one, that you have to, before you begin a reading, you have to talk to your client. It really is an educational process. I'm going to do a reading, and this is why. And I can, so you explain to them the rationale, which is the body's energy gets frozen in certain ways. And when I see where it's frozen, I can help you better. I have an idea of the wound, what's behind the problem you've come in here with, so we can get to it immediately. And you're in this process for a much shorter period of time. But you also, so you explain the rationale for the reading, but you also must, this is an absolute must, process the person's feelings. Like I'm going to ask you to wear a two-piece bathing suit if it's a woman, or a one-piece if it's a male, or shorts and a halter or a t-shirt. And this is a way people don't normally come into therapy. And I'm going to ask you to take off your jewelry and your headbands and anything that distracts us from looking at the body. How do you feel about me seeing you like this? How is it going to feel to have me not just observing your mind, but here I am, now I'm going to be observing your body. So it's really important to talk about this. Usually we try to do a body reading in the first 4 to 6 to 8 sessions after, of course, you go through this explanation with the client. But if the person has a lot of anxiety about it, shame about their body, feels dread about it, I don't like to have anyone look at me, some clients might say, then you need to let it go, and you may not do a body reading with that person, or it may be 6 months in after you develop a rapport. So this is just in a little more depth. You explain to the client what a reading is and how it will help the therapy. So you might say to them, when things happen in your life, like when you were punished as a child, it affected your energy and it got blocked in certain muscles, or sometimes it even leaked out of your body when it shouldn't have. This I will be able to read by looking at your body. When I look at the energy in your body, I see the stressors in your life, and I can help you begin to deal with them. We can choose the most appropriate interventions on the basis of a body reading so that your therapy will move forward at a good pace. And you can tell the client that's, you're not going to be telling them everything they don't know about themselves. Some things they will already know, and some things may surprise them. And you also can say, there's a lot of evidence, clinical evidence. People have been doing body readings for at least 100 years and coming out with similar results. But if you don't agree with something, then I'm going to respect your opinion because it's your body and you know your history much better than I do. So give the person the right to say, I don't agree with you. That's really important. And as I said before, you definitely need to spend time, I don't care if it's 1 session or 3 or 6 sessions, processing feelings prior to reading. So you tell them that they're going to be wearing not their street clothes, but either a bathing suit or shorts and a halter or workout clothing. And you ask them about how they're going to feel about having you look at their body. They're going to be exposed in a new way. If they're uncomfortable, as I said before, put off the reading till you know each other better. And some people will never be ready. Sometimes with someone who is really wants the reading but is terrified, I will do it with street clothes, and I will just explain that it's probably not going to be accurate because there are certain things when I look at the body, indentations, changes in skin color, places where hair grows, that I won't be able to see because of their clothing, but at least it will give them a general idea. So basically, the client comes first, and you agree and support them with whatever they need. And always give them a chance to back out, even in the middle of the reading. If they said, no, that's enough, then you say, okay, that's fine, no problem. So that's very important to do that. Let's see where we are here. Okay, so when you start to do the reading, you don't want to give too much information because it's overwhelming. I don't know if any of you have had a body reading, you probably have, but if you hear too much, you'd only, it just, you'd go to sleep for a week. So you're going to pick out the things that are important, or the things that you think a person can deal with. And that's what I mean. We're going to do more than one reading over time with a person, so that certain things can be left out, and you share them when it's most appropriate. The things you want to share are kind of the things that are going to lead into the beginning of the work. So if you see, for example, if you see someone's a caved in area in the chest, which would represent not having enough love or nurturing early on, that might be where you want to start, to which is kind of a sign of orality. So you might want to start up by building up more energy in the body because it's leaking out. So you want to start the reading where you can really start the work. Be honest in your reading, but say everything very tactfully. You don't want to make things worse for anybody. And you also want to tell them positive things. If you think about the character types, every character type has something positive. The psychopath has courage. The masochist is a hard worker and has a big heart. And the oral is very intelligent. And the schizoid is very spiritual. So you want to bring out these things when you see those characteristics of those defenses in the body. You need to mention the positive. Now, since a body reading requires the person to get undressed, they're going to be changing clothes in your office or whatever space that you work with them. So they should have privacy, no matter how well you know each other. And they say, oh, it's fine, you can stay here. If they're undressing and changing in your office, you leave, walk out the door and say, I'll be back in 5 minutes or so, or 3 minutes. If you have a separate bathroom or a separate room they can change in, then they leave and come back in. As soon as they come back, or you come back, and you're standing with each other, again, you want to ask, how does this feel? Check out, make sure that you're really comfortable with this, and we have the green light to go ahead. So when they're ready, make eye contact and ask them if they feel safe with you. I generally start with a meditation and hold the client's hands. During that meditation, I'm asking for guidance for my higher power and my connection with higher spirits, because I feel I see a body reading as a very spiritual connection with the person and with the universe. So for me, I'm feeling their energy. My energy is meeting the person's energy. There's a oneness between us, and I'm asking for guidance and help. Then when we drop hands and the meditation ends, I step away. So I have a very good kind of long range view of the body, of the whole person. And I just wait to see what strikes me, and it will be something that either I find very attractive about the person, or something that might repel me about the person's body, but something will just go buzz. And that's kind of where I start. So I can't tell you exactly where to start. I think you just have to get the feel of it and jump in. And we may all be different in how we start a reading. But mainly we start with a sense of compassion for this person, gratitude that we have these gifts and can do this, and just the joy of experiencing another person on this level. So academically and intellectually, a body reading integrates certain kinds of information that you study in core energetics. And this is information that's come to us through Reich, maybe even through Freud originally. It comes to us through Caracas and through Lowen. So what we're going to integrate in our reading is everything you can possibly know and learn about the 5 major character types and all their subtypes. Everything you know about the chakras. We have we have 12 chakras. So everything from your higher energy to the throat chakra, whether it receives or whether you can speak your truth, all of that comes into the body reading. We integrate the 7 segments of the body. That comes from Reich. So you have to have knowledge of each segment, and we integrate our knowledge about posture, what it means. And then we integrate nuances, things we know about skin color, and how it changes in skin color, or changes in the heat, whether the skin is cold or hot, where hair grows, and how hair grows, secondary sexual characteristics. So all of that comes into the reading. So in your 4 years of training, a lot of that material was studied. So it's a question of bringing it all together. A body reading brings almost everything you ever learned together. But because you're telling a story, you're not using labels. You're trying not to use words like oral masochistic schizoid. You're using words like lack of nurturing, or abandonment, or smothering. You were smothered. You didn't have enough freedom, choice. Those are the stories you're telling. You're telling the person's unique, beautiful, wonderful story. So again, I'm repeating myself. Sorry about that. You're telling a story, no labels like schizoid, masochism, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. So here's an example. It looks like you felt very alone the first year of your life. Perhaps you were neglected. Your mother may have had other children or suffered a death in her family. She just wasn't there for you in the way you needed. So that's one story. Another story is you loved your father very much, but he seemed to reject you. Maybe it was something simple, like he stopped putting you to bed at night or holding you on his lap, but you felt a lot of pain around that and actually got pretty angry about it. But you decided in your unconscious mind that you would never totally love anyone again, because you were never going to experience that kind of rejection again. So those are the kinds of stories we tell that help people see and understand their wounds, and then they lead us right into our interventions. So the body communicates quite a bit of information, and we have meanings. For example, with posture, the spine tells us about the person's relationship with their father. That's particularly true of men, but sometimes for women also. Secondary sexual characteristics, where the curves are in the body. If there are no curves, where the hair grows, what happened at puberty when those things generally come into existence. Then we look at something that Reich loved to talk about, body armor. So is this person armored so that they don't get hurt? So are their muscles really tense and tight so nothing can get to them? They won't have to feel emotions. we look at the harmony. Does the body parts fit together? Does the head look like it belongs with the rest of the body? Sometimes you'll find a person who's, has very short legs and a very long chest. So that may say something to you about not wanting to grow up, or there are different kinds of splits in the body, and they all have meaning. Nuances, blinks, face muscles, body hair, skin color, they can indicate energy blocks. So we look for blocks because in our interventions, we want to release those blocks so that the energy flows in a figure 8 throughout the body. So this is how energy should flow. When it's blocked, it's like my fist, it doesn't move. And then in the next slide, I'll talk for a minute about the chakras, because they're very important in a body reading as well. So each chakra has a meaning. The top of your head is spirituality. Your third eye is kind of your psychic qualities, your ability to have clairvoyance or know what's going to happen. Your throat is about communications, but can you speak your truth? Are you willing to really say what you mean and what you think? But the throat also has another meaning. It's about reception. Can I receive love? Because food comes in through the mouth and down into your body. The heart chakra is about love, healing, and it's about love for your partner, love for your family, love for God, all kinds of love. If you go down lower to the solar plexus, here it says power, and but I think about the big yellow chakra as, your life path. Where am I going? Do I know where I'm going? Am I really totally passionate and interested in my life? Is my life meaningful? So all of that shows in that particular chakra. And then down under that in the pelvis in orange is your sexuality. And the front chakra is sexual feelings. How am I capable of sexually having emotion, sexually feeling, getting aroused? The back is about sexual activity. Sometimes they work together and sometimes they don't. And then finally, the root chakra, that bright red chakra, is about safety and security. How safe do I feel on the planet? But it's also for us about grounding. Can my energy get down to the earth? Am I grounded? Am I in reality? So these chakras are very, very important to your readings as well as everything else. So again, I just said a few more things about them. The spirituality, generally there's white light. If you put your hand, if you can all do this right now, if you put your hand right above your head, the front of your head for about 2 or 3 inches, see if there's energy coming up, if you feel the energy moving into your hand. So is that chakra alive? You can also spin your chakras if you feel they're not as perky as you would like them to be. The front chakras are receptive, meaning they I can't say that they take in energy, but they're feeling centers. The back chakras are about doing things, making things happen. So for example, here, I might be psychic, but if I want to share my vision or put my vision into reality, I need the chakra in the back of my head. So they work together, they're teams. So the throat is about speaking your truth and receiving love. but the back of it is about being organized. Can I balance my checkbook? Do I know, what's on my calendar for tomorrow? The heart chakra, we said, was about love, but the back of it, in the middle of your, between your two shoulders, it's about will. That's your main will center. Can you make things happen, or are you passive? Do you have a big hole back there? The back of the solar plexus chakra is about healing and health. Do I take care of my body? Am I burnt out? Am I seeing so many clients that I have my skin looks green in that area? So sexual feelings in the front, sexual activity in the back. So these chakras, again, you don't want to leave them out of your reading. You can use a pendulum if you would like to see if the pendulum circles. Or you can use your hand, or you can just look at the skin, whether it's vital and alive or seems flaccid and dull. And that will help you get some idea of what's going on in the chakras. Also, if there's a muscular block where a chakra is, then you know the energy isn't going to be flowing very well. So I think I've gotten the main points across that I want to, in terms of just how you go about doing a body reading, and the amount of respect and compassion you bring to your clients, and that you always educate and teach them what it is before you would even attempt one. They can be repeated over time. People generally do love them because they want to know about themselves. And body readings have a very strong, healthy history. So even though we don't have a lot of empirical research, we have an awful lot of clinical research showing their proof. And they seem to, at least everything I learned from John was there was no problem in moving across cultures. As you know, I've taught in many different countries and with people from all kinds of ethnic and racial groups. And pretty much the body reading has been applicable to most people. So I think that's kind of interesting that we haven't had to change the body readings, that these things pick up on certain things that are true in some ways culturally. So I'm just going to point out a few things here as we begin to wrap up. You know the character structures, but you might look at certain things like tattoos. So here's different pictures of tattoos, where the person has it placed on their body. And you might even ask them if it has particular meaning to them. What's interesting in this particular person's, it all kind of comes in around the heart. Everything's kind of pointing toward this space right here in his heart. And he does look like he's had some heartache in his life if I look at other things. So, that might be an interesting discussion for you with your client. And again, here's this person's kind of tattoo, and he has an upper displaced energy, a lot of energy in his upper body and in his head, large head. So, what meaning does that tattoo have for him? Does it speak of power, strength? These are things that could be added to the body reading. I put this picture in because, sometimes we forget. We see so many people who are mixed structures. meaning they have, like my body or your body might have 3 or 4 structures. I can see an oral wrist, but I can see a rigid shape in a certain way, and I can see where I'm holding body weight as kind of a masochistic being. So I can see even some psychopathy in me. So I can point out 4 or 5 things. Some people will only have 1 or 2. And so, for example, this person's body is pretty limited. So in terms of the hated child, which is schizoid energy. So when you see people whose ribs stick out like this, they can even be sometimes thinner than she is and look like they just came out of a concentration camp. That would be a sign of schizoid. You see the large gap between her legs, the energy probably doesn't even get to the ground, it just dissipates. You see her head and neck slanted. That's also a sign of energy fragmenting. So, you could say that to this person that it would be very hard to feel welcome on the planet, to feel wanted, even know, why am I here? Do I really belong here? So that might be the story that you start out with in that case. So you're going to be looking, when you think about oral schizoid, you're going to be looking at the collarbones, whether they stick out. That would be an oral sign. You're going to be looking at the neck, whether it's off to one side. That would be a schizoid sign. But you're not going to use words like oral or schizoid. You're going to use not feeling welcome, or having a strong connection with spirituality, or feeling needy, but being accepted for your intelligence. So again, this person's body, she has a lot of weight, and it's almost like a protective around herself. And what is the wounding here? What kind of trauma has she had? So, I would say this is an oral schizoid body, but in the reading, I wouldn't talk about that. I would talk about trauma, that things had to be hard early on, that something may have really felt very cruel or very terrifying. These are just 2 examples of undernourishment in the chest, not getting enough early protection. And here, even the top kind of caving in as she's sitting in the chair, it has that kind of feature that I want to protect my heart. My shoulders are going to come in to protect my heart. And similarly with this guy, with the head sticking out in front of the body, a very kind of needy kind of thing. Feed me. I haven't been fed. Take care of me. I'm owed. So when you work with that dimension of neediness or deprivation or feeling owed, that person may actually want to be carried through life. They will have a hard time keeping a job, for example. Someone else has to take care of them. So a lot of the work is building the energy up in the body, and building a better, stronger container, and helping them stand on their own 2 feet. Like, you can do it. You can do it yourself. You don't need my help. So we may support that person at the beginning, have their back, but eventually, to graduate from therapy, they need to be able to stand on their own 2 feet and not need us to support them. And here would be someone with the opposite thing, an overcharge. You can see that in the back, and the shorter neck, although it does come forward. So this is where you get a combination of a little bit of orality, but mainly you're dealing with someone who was smothered, overprotected, and didn't have a right to say no or define life the way he wanted to, at least not as a child. And this is from a magazine, but this guy almost has no neck. So again, you know, he was smothered, controlled, although he also has a lot of power in his body. So probably a mix of masochism and psychopathy. So you talk about being smothered, but also wanting it his way. I have to have it my way. This is, as one of my clients pointed out, this is the same person, but Mama's Boy versus Gym Rat. So when a man has a lot of body fat, some of it might be soft and mushy, some of it might be, you know, firm. But that shows that there was a lot of attention from the mom. So his body kind of built up. Mom gave him a lot of stuff, too much stuff. He might really resent her. And here, so remember I said, sometimes we deal with layers. So let's say you were working with this person. Underneath all that could be this very kind of armored, a lot of rigidity here and lots of armor. You're not going to hurt me, you're not going to get to my heart. So I don't think you'll meet anything this extreme in your clients, but you will find layers in every person, including yourself, when you do readings. An upper displacement, thinner legs, come all the way up. Here it's in its back. My way or the highway. This person was seduced and betrayed as a child, doesn't have much trust, has to do it all himself. And you can see the same thing here in women, who have, again, very broad shoulders with a lot of weight across the will. This is the will center that I was talking about before. And, so upper displacement. This is a female dimension of psychopathy, rarely seen in men, but often seen in females, where so it would be the weight is more in the pelvis with a smaller kind of oral or masochistic chest. And it's still somebody who wants it her way. This person can be very charming and very manipulative at the same time to make sure she gets it her way. So watch out. And then here's 3 men, example of, again, a male structure with will centers, the S curve in the back, and a lot of rigidity. In other words, the core energetic story for this person is loved his mommy or respected her or had an infatuation, and then felt rejected at some time, and then decided, I'm never going to give you my heart totally again, or my heart and pelvis together. You can have my heart or my pelvis, but you can't have both. So you may know of people who have this kind of heart pelvis splits, or you may have it yourself. That's not unusual. And here we can see, again, some of that in a woman with the very nice curves, a lot of harmony in the body. That speaks of rigidity, but there's probably a cut at the waist because on some level she felt loved daddy or mommy, and then felt rejected. So she, is very beautiful, successful, but doesn't give her heart and pelvis, her total oneness to another person. This person, I just has their sloping shoulders because John always said that has to do with spite. So that's just, I threw that in. And this person has a very rigid, straight back. So it's not rigid the way we think about rigid. It's rigid in terms of inflexible. And you may see that in people where they don't have a lot of flexibility even in their thinking. Again, this is a person with a lot of energy through the torso, which has to do with a lot of mommy intrusiveness into his life. And I point this out different ways that body hair plays a role. And this gentleman, it's right here across the heart. So that would be worth weaving into your story. These people, interesting, they both have their legs apart so that the energy, which would come down from the perineum into the floor, dissipates. So I would say this couple, they appear in a lot of magazines when they sell kitchens, but that I think, I don't know if they're husband and wife or what, but they are somewhat ungrounded if they hold their legs like this too much. So that's basically what I can share with you today. I don't know how much time I took, and I don't know if you're still with me, but this is just an area that's so interesting and so helpful to people, and they really love it. And so I'm happy that I had the opportunity to share it with you today. And I just want to say thank you for inviting me to be with you. And I hope if I continue here on the planet for a bit longer, that I can be with you in person sometime, or that I'll see you at our next international conference. And if I do, come up, say hello, and give me a big hug. Hopefully we won't be having COVID, so I can enjoy those big hugs. Yeah, so yeah, so thanks for being with me, and I hope you got something out of this, and goodbye. And I'm gonna end this if I can find where to end it here. So that may take me a minute. I'll put on my glasses to end it.